to another My Little Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Bree. I'm here with my mother, Shelly.
Hi.
My husband, Jared.
Hi.
And my brother, Bryson.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be chit-chatting to you about the most recent weekly peek. But before we get into that, we just want to say thank you for if you've purchased one of our t-shirts or one of our products on our website. We really appreciate your support. All that goes towards keeping us afloat, and we just want to say thank you. I know that we also hope that you're enjoying your product, whatever you've purchased. I know we enjoy them. This is probably one of my favorite shirts, which is the baseball one. I've got it here in skid steer. Let's see.
The double
you and I, we just matched. We woke up and matched today, accidentally.
I want to say, too, thank you for our Patreon supporters. We're a little bit behind on the $5 and above names on the screen, so bear with us if you don't see your name quite yet. But we sure appreciate your support there as well.
Yeah, you are awesome. Thank you for your financial help. We appreciate it. All right, awesome. So today, let's see, on Friday, we put out another little update on the workshop, which is super fun. We did something a little bit different, although we've done them before, which are the window boxes that, Jared, you did such a lovely job on. All the guys at one point were like,
they were perfect.
They were
beautiful.
Yeah, they were excellent.
Like all the cuts and everything were so
That's the
precise.
first time you've done those, right? Yeah. He's like, oh, I can do those. I'll go out and do those.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think you did them on your own, too. I don't think anyone, like,
Yeah, he's all by
just out there
himself.
by yourself, just doing them.
Probably lonely out there.
It's fine. It's all good.
And then you guys did a bunch of electrical boxes and tons of plates to get all this stuff in.
Need to make more this week.
Yeah,
It's funny how many we really need.
It's incredible. We were out there bagging yesterday, and Dad was like, "Oh, we need another cleat," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, shouldn't we just get all those done?" It was unbelievable. But yeah, we constantly need those wonderful, wonderful things. And then let's see, what's the third thing? Oh, you guys also, of course, did a little bit more bagging on one of the sides to bring it up to the level on both sides. So there's a little bit of bagging this week for that. But it was mostly woodworking and shooting nails through pieces of wood, I'd say was the main task last week, which is fun, kind of a fun little break.
I feel like we really are nailing it down.
Now, what are you guys going to do with all that grass growing? You just lay on the top that, or are you going to trim it down? What's your plan?
I almost think it would be better if you don't have to, I don't think we have to remove it entirely, but trim it down a little bit so it's pokey when you put it in the next bag.
Like
so
it becomes a fiber attaching.
I love it.
It's a good idea.
It reminds me, go ahead.
Because there's certain spots that are just too overgrown that it would just lay on it and then potentially slide off of.
It's unbelievable, the growth on it.
I thought, oh, surely this is as far as it'll go. And then it keeps going. And believe it or not, down the base of the building is also bunches of grass shoots coming out. It's unbelievable. It's cool, though, but it's,
Reminds me of potato bags when you leave them too long and they start growing roots and just
sprouting out. Really fantastic garden idea, I think. I don't know why. We should do a 1 year where we do a test where we plant our garden in complete hyper adobe and see what we can get out of the bags, kind of fun.
Hey, if you did potatoes, they're already bagged.
Yep.
Whoa, my mind just blew for a second there. Okay, Steve Wagner says, I found a plot of land and I'm gathering materials to start my build in the near future. That is wonderful,
awesome.
Steve. Congratulations. Nice. Hyper Adobe looks like the way to go. I'm curious, what's the approximate dimensions of a layer once it's fully tamped and dry? Thank you and keep up the good work. And I think Dad actually did reply to you, but just in case you are curious, and Steve, so hopefully you got that response, but just in case, Dad said the dimensions were 5 by 18 because they're 18-inch bags.
So 5 inches thickness and then 18 inches wide.
Right. So
yeah, and keep in mind that because we're going multiple stories over there, we're going higher. Gary went with a much wider bag. On these buildings in here and all the ones that we've built were 14-inch bags.
Yeah,
and of course they were the regular sandbag, continuous sandbag.
I would imagine it's pretty average between 3 to 5 inches thickness, depending.
Yeah, because you could get less thickness if you didn't fill it as much.
But imagine with that type of material, even if you went with the skinnier bags, you'd be able to still get them pretty thick. So,
and just recently too, we did run out of the first roll of bags. So about what you see there is about what one roll can do.
Which you see this Friday will be one roll. And we've decided no more, dilly-dallying, doing this, doing that. We are going to power through and just power through the shop now and get her done.
Yeah, we're gonna get her done. We're
Yeah.
pretty excited.
Mm-hmm.
So nose to the grindstone from us. We want to get this thing up. We're like, we need this to get other projects done. So
Yeah.
it's like, we just got to do it.
And we determined when you have about 3 guys out there working, which is about the minimum it takes to really run the system, you can get a layer in about an hour.
I feel like we were doing faster than 1 layer an hour before, but we have the window boxes that slow us down a little
Yeah.
bit, like quite a bit. I'd
Yeah, they
say.
do.
So
Yeah.
this is just for the window box because you're gonna have different various lane.
That's true. You would have different speeds.
'Cause I feel like you were faster before, but because we've got the window boxes.
Kind of
Anyway, I just want to mention that too because I think it's
pure
it would've been
walls
faster.
with no window boxes.
Which I mean, you're
You'd
gonna
probably
have
pretty
windows,
quickly.
I would think, in your buildings.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yes,
yes,
you would.
good point.
I was just thinking how fast it was. It really is.
I was out there, Mom, you're filming, you 3 guys are working, and I'm like, what do I do?
So you just eat grass.
I that's exactly what I did, which sounds weird, but trust me, you watch the video, it'd make more sense. Hopefully, maybe not. But I was like, oh my goodness. We had one scene in our video where you found an old cleat.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and so Janet Alberto says, could it be Shay that built that old cleat? I remember in one video that she aligns the nails.
Good observation. Yes,
might be
you
right.
are. Yeah, I bet you're right.
It was very pretty.
That's right. Remember, we had years ago where you and Shay were having a competition of building those, and you were just like bam, 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 and she was like, she wanted to.
She wanted to be perfect.
Yeah,
Again.
and she was explaining that this was much better than yours.
Far superior.
Right. I actually remember that.
That's awesome.
That's great.
awesome. Nice one. Erin Pravancha says, where have all the tools gone? I bet it's hard to protect them from this year's monsoon rains.
Just under the brick buildings there. They are literally packed in there.
Packed to the
Packed.
gills.
Those buildings that
I
you
mean,
see sitting on the sides.
Yeah, so-
You have to play Jenga every time you want to get in there. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's packed,
It's
in,
packed
there.
But we do have a spot for them, which is pretty nice because we don't normally do that. I mean, considering the entire hoop barn, which was questionable whether it was a shelter to begin with, but there was a lot in there, so we were able to pack them into those 2 buildings, thankfully.
Yeah.
So otherwise, yes, that would be a challenge. It already is to find anything. But anyway, Melissa Stapleton said, I love watching your build updates. Thank you so much, Melissa. Question for Gary, who's not here, but we'll do our best. I'll be building my Earthbag house in Arkansas, where we have quite a bit of moisture in the non-summer months. Should I consider using a Quikrete foundation under the Earthbag layers, or will Earthbags alone be sturdy enough?
You can look that up, but I would say more than likely, yeah, you'll want more of a concrete type base around there. I've seen guys, and you probably have too, where they take like concrete bags and they just leave them in the bags and they put them in and then they wet them. I don't know if that works or not, but I thought that was a clever idea too.
is
But
interesting.
yeah, here we get away with quite a bit that you wouldn't probably ever want to do in a wet place.
The only moisture that we deal with is when there's too hard of a rainstorm and it might corrode something. But it's not like we deal with moisture coming up to the other way. We just don't deal with that. So if it was us, we probably would do a Quikrete of some kind that we'd set them on, I would think, if we were in your situation.
Yeah, the cabin in the mountains, that collapsed due to moisture, didn't it? Or
It was actually the content
material.
of what we were trying to do it the same way we did it here, and I believe they had way too much clay in the. We had too much clay in the sand there, or
It was
in
something
the,
like that.
in the dirt mixture.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It
right.
wasn't the right consistency to harden.
Yeah.
Like we have caliche here, and there was no caliche up there.
Yeah.
okay,
I think that's
I
what
think
it was.
that's what's
Okay.
kind of going on
Just the
because
wrong
so
ratio.
it wasn't the foundation there.
Yeah.
No, but
Like when
yeah,
you-
Garen and Ellie did add. They added some cement
Concrete
to
or
it.
Which is what
Yeah.
most people do because they don't have the type of consistency that we do in our dirt, where we have the consistency.
very
really,
lucky
it's just that we
when it
have the
comes to-
caliche, which is unique to us, which is why we don't put that in anything because it's in our ground pretty much.
Yeah. And your building's been up for I don't know how many years,
So
and
what do we guess? Like 10 years, 15 years,
yeah.
and it's going strong, baby. And I would just like to say too that we didn't do the proper, or what I would say the proper, like stucco on the outside. We did a pretty. It was like a cob, but the binding agent wasn't very tough, and so it has to be painted. And if there's any cracks in the paint, it'll take out, like it'll scoop it out because the rain comes down so hard, it will corrode into there. And it's still going strong. Like I mean, the bags themselves have held up really great. And Jared and I have future plans with that building. Actually, a lot of future plans with that building. So we'll probably do in time a whole new outside of it. But anyway, it's held up
Yeah,
really
it
well.
was after your building that we started to actually yours and Garen, we started to do the stucco on the outside, just because rain hits that. We were cobbing it. Rain hits that, and it just
washes away.
Yeah.
And we tried like super big eaves to help protect the walls, which help for sure. It's kept it really nice. But we decided that when it come to the outside, we were just going to do something a little less natural, or what we would consider natural. We wanted to really go natural because we were having fun with that. What we could be able to resources that we had access to on our land. But we ended up.
Yeah, that was the advice.
rough.
Bigger eaves. But when the rain's going sideways,
Which is the rain we get here.
Yeah.
When it's going, it's going. The faucet turns on, and that's it.
Another thing too is like my room is very, very tall, almost 2 stories tall on the peak, and it still is doing just fine.
Yeah, and that's with the stucco on it.
And that's
So-
with the same material, and it does have the stucco on it, but like it,
Yeah, same material.
I think there was like a little settling that had happened over time, just like a little bit as it was the first kind of new, and it kind of settled in a little bit. So I think we did get some cracking in the stucco, but we've just ever since then it's not really been any issues after that initial settle. It seemed.
Yeah, and I think Dad said every building settles after you build it.
Settles a little
So I mean, it would be pretty typical. I know sometimes we're like, oh, it's alternative, it has to be perfect. Well, let's consider what the other one is, so we can kind of have a better perspective on it too. Anyway, just thought I'd toss that in.
want that to be. You want the Earthbag buildings to be perfect.
Yeah.
When it's not, you can't not. That's
The
not
other
the right
side's
standard.
not perfect, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, each comes with their own pluses
They
and
all
minuses.
need their own maintenances.
Yeah.
You know what I'm hoping for? There was this guy who set up these sandbags around this area, and 50 years later he came back to them, and they had turned into stone. So
That's amazing.
my hope is that these structures we build 50 years from now are going to be stone.
I like it.
I like that a
Which
lot.
you can't
never
really
know.
you
Nobody
can't beat
understands
that.
why that happens. So I mean, let's hope for it. Why not?
I love
I
it.
can
love
see it
it.
happening.
Hey, me too.
Do you know what sandstone is?
Stone, that's sand that was once sand.
Yeah.
Whoa,
So
mind
it
blown.
Makes sense.
So it'll be like Earthbag stone, and
Earthstone.
and hyper Adobe stone.
Yeah.
Whoa,
I like this.
I
You know,
love it.
who's to say that our ancestors didn't build a pyramid out of dirt? And over a period of time, it's just converted
There
into
you
stone.
go. Yeah.
I mean, like no one could consider that. I mean,
Problem solved. Problem. What? Not
Yeah,
problem. A mystery solved.
Mystery solved. There we go.
would that be hilarious? You travel back in time, you're like, are you building with mud? Yeah.
It's a big sand castle.
Yeah, it's a big sand
You
castle.
know?
We really enjoy it. This beautiful structure. We can really carve it easy. It's super easy. Yeah.
Like babies are out there doing this. Yeah. It's so light, women are popping it up in the air. It's just foam,
Yeah, you ever wonder what happens to foam in the years? Well,
I
your bed that's real comfortable, just wait 100,000 years. We'll see what happens to it.
wow, that's a long time.
That's a really long time.
Sorry, my mind has been just like, well, okay. Will Garmer says, now that you're using the skid steer to feed the bags, is it more difficult to do those short runs between the windows? Seems like frequent starts and stops would make bagging feel like it's going slower, even though you're bagging fewer linear feet of the wall. Which is, I think we mentioned this a little earlier, Will, because you got us thinking about that. But yeah, I do think so.
Yeah. It does seem to slow it down a little
Yeah.
bit.
The actual act of filling the bags is still.
Yeah,
easy
you
to
guys
pick.
wouldn't opt to fill the bags though.
No.
You guys are spoiled with that machine.
Yeah, and I think
In a good way.
And we've kind of thought of a solution once we get, because the max range of the skid steer is 8 feet, 9 feet.
The top of the windows are going to be probably the max height that skid steer is going to be able to reach.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But we've thought of, I think we've thought of a solution is to maybe have the scaffolding set, and then we'll bag onto the scaffolding like a short section that we can just
lift
pick
up
and move to
I was
the different
thinking
spots.
We could do that, and then we could just literally do like brick-sized bags and just, just toss them up like we would a brick, building, similar to what we did the outdoor shower where we had the short lengths. Might be really easy. In fact, no, we'd probably want to use the same bagging material.
Yeah.
But we'll just have somebody making short tied ends, and then someone just coming behind and filling it, tying it, tying it.
Good idea.
And then with that skid steer, can just run fully without a problem.
Yeah, with
So-
enough of us too. I mean, us ladies, we probably won't be doing the lifting, but we
No.
can at least do tying and maybe filling. Might be something we could do.
Hey, we got an idea we want to run past you. We were talking, especially Bree and I, but you guys were joining in too, about what to do on the outside. Now, we're going to do the birch paneling on the inside as we talked about. But on the outside, Bree and I were talking about like doing a rocks up to the bottom of the window frames. And then...
Soapy.
And then getting some of these concrete molds, and whether we'll do aircrete or regular, I don't know. We're going to test on that, but make it into like, you want to talk about what?
Oh yeah, so it kind of is in the shape a little bit, aside from the little wings, it kind of looks like a little beehive, the way that the inside main shape is. And I thought it'd be really kind of fun to do those pavers molds in the shape of the hexagon, which is the bestagon if you've seen that video. But a hexagon shapes that kind of look like a beehive. You're doing bunches of paths and pavers in the backyard.
Yes,
which is
we'll be
cool.
talking about that soon. But
Yeah,
yes.
real soon. But you have a really cute paw print mold that you have. And we thought it'd
Yeah.
be kind of fun to do the rocks, the beehive shape, and then all the way around the building have a meandering paw prints. Looks like, a dog meandered around the beehive or whatever it is, around the building.
Now, I do have to say, too, when I was shopping around today, they make a bee paver. So we may want to do a bee instead of the
Going
paw prints.
around.
But I don't know, with just some ideas that we'll actually pre-mold them. We'll have, we've got a plan to lay some mesh over the top, nails in it, so then we can stick it to the building, and we will mortar them together, and that's going to be the outside, just to give us a kind of a new idea instead of stuccoing the whole building. That's just an idea, but I want to throw that out there because sometimes you're going, oh, I got a really great idea that would add to that or make that easier. If you think of something, we would love to hear from you too, because your ideas are always so good.
Now, before we close out today, we also released Dad's cancer recovery video documentary on Friday as well, and we've just had wonderful feedback on that. Has been just heartwarming, so thank you so much. Again, we want to say how much if you were following us through that period of time, how much we appreciate your prayers. That was such a massive part of that whole that whole experience, and it really, you could feel that prayer as we were going through it. And I just want to say how much we appreciate you doing that, and still praying for us today. Even some folks were saying that we are part of their evening prayers, and we just want to say thank you for that. We really appreciate you. That was special to us.
Mom was the sole editor behind that video, and she did a great job.
And you had been really trying to
portraying
figure
the
out
story.
how you wanted to put all that stuff together, and we had been praying about how we were going to do it. And I'm just so proud of you. It came out so wonderfully.
Oh,
And I'm
I know
really proud of
what
Mom.
was hard to think through was like during that time, you have these moments where you're going through a really traumatic experience, and those are those moments where God is so close, and closer than at least the way we're feeling him, closer than other times. And it's like, how can we tell this story without it coming across corny?
Yeah.
The Moses story with Moses, you're going to have this God voice, or like, but how do you put this God story, implement it in, because you can't leave it out.
No.
It's integrated
Oh, my
into
goodness.
the reality of what happened.
Yeah.
And we just decided to go with just the black screen and don't say anything.
Yeah,
Just
and the text that pops up.
And one thing that we did know too, we knew the moment that evening that Gary had gotten to the hospital and he was diagnosed for a second time with lymphoma. We knew at that point that God was putting this story together, and it was going to be a story we needed to tell.
Yeah.
We even talked about it, but then of course you get caught up in, and that's why you might say, well, gosh, how did you get this footage? Just because we knew we were going to one day put the information out. Of course, we didn't get a lot of footage because there's a lot going
it's
on.
hard to
film.
And I think what was interesting, and now, at the point now when we're putting this show together, the interesting thing about it was I realized that God had used that hummingbird motif, and we've talked about the hummingbird motif a lot. And those moments really did happen on the moments of the hummingbird in the window zipping off to the hospital for the first night. The hummingbird, as I was looking out into the courtyard of from Gary's room, the hummingbird really was poking and prodding. Those things were very real. Those things that happened, and also the hummingbird home for healing. That all was, and I'm like, that is so funny. God was like writing he was writing the mini documentary. He was putting that in. Now that third one, where we have the home for healing, was actually a picture on the hospital wall of the hummingbird, and we've been back to the hospital since, because other people, friends and family, have been to the hospital, and they have taken that picture down. Otherwise, I would have liked to actually got that picture, but we actually it worked better to just be consistent with the hummingbirds. But anyway, so God was already writing that story for us to tell.
Yeah, it was remarkable. The first hummingbird too, I want to say, it was stormy. Like, you don't normally see hummingbirds when it's stormy, and at the little place that we had gone to where we began our journey, there had these really huge picture windows in the back, and I remember before we were gonna rush him into the bigger hospital, we were just gonna take a bathroom break, I think is all we were doing. And so we had gone off into those huge picture windows, and I remember looking out, and this big and this actually pretty decent sized hummingbird came to the window and like stared at me and then buzzed off
the direction of the hospital.
And it was like, that was such a God thing.
Quick.
Yeah, get there quick. Get there. Yeah,
this is where we're going.
This is where we're headed. So
it was already scary that Gary had to go in to hear the results. It's like, why can't you tell us on the phone what's going on? So you go into the clinic, and the moment we went in, you were with us. It was Dad, you and I, and we walked in, and we could hear them whispering, and we got that in the video. I don't know if it came out very clear, but they're saying, "Oh, that's the problem one," and it was just like, it was so surreal and scary.
It was, and you knew in your spirit something was there. It wasn't going to be good news, and that's why I wanted to be there. I was like, I'm going to be there with you, Mom.
There are those moments where you do something, and you're like, oh, I was close to losing a limb, and you just barely missed it, and you're like, oh, okay, and you just keep moving on, but that moment went by so fast, you're like, oh, we're fine. Oh, okay, so we just move forward. That's what I feel like this moment was. It was something that just happened really fast. It was over, and it was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
But like, it's hard to go back and think through it all, because it just was so fast.
You're settling in.
For me, it felt fast.
You're settling in for the long haul.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to not be as long as we thought.
Yeah.
Oh, and we better say this though. Reasons he's just doing some errands right now. Otherwise, he would be with us. So you're probably going, yeah, he's healthy. Where is he?
No, he's fine. He's fine.
Really?
He is. No, he is. You stop in the video. He's fine. Anyway, we want to thank you so much for being a part of our family, for your prayers again. So appreciate you doing that, and for supporting our family, leaving great comments and encouraging us and supporting us. That means the world. So thank you so much for doing that. We look forward to sharing more Shop Build with you this week, and also Jared and I, we've been prepping for our game night Wednesday night. We're having a lot of fun there. So thank you so much for just coming and hanging out with us live. We love
they're building there too, building online.
Yes, so we love to build and design, and
you can come in there if you want to ask some questions.
Yes,
even if it's unrelated to the gaming. You know, I'm sure Bria and you too, Jared, be willing to answer if there's something or some comments you want to make.
It's kind of fun to have that live, so you can ask these questions that we may not be able to answer, or not think to. So, or just say hi or whatever. We love hearing from you. So it gives us an excuse to hang out live with you, which is just special to us. So anyway, thank you so much, and we look forward to another week of My Little Homestead content.
Yeah, and be sure to check out Gary's recovery video. That'll be down in the link too. And if you get a chance, please watch it to the end, because there's some special things that we would really like to do for some very special people that made an impact on us, and we'd like to
support them and
just support them as well.
Get their story out a little bit too.
If you can watch it all the way to the end, that would be great.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much, and we hope you have a lovely, lovely week.
Bye.